As an illustrator working in London, I got to know works by people like Paul Arago. Paul Arago's Fairy Tale springs to mind. And I guess I never did printmaking at college, but as I started teaching here, I've been teaching here a long time, I started to get more naturally involved with working in the print room. So doing my MA here, I used the screen print process. I did some stone lithographs and I did some woodcut illustrations. So it sort of happened sort of fell into it partly by accident and partly by my own interest in the image making processes, I suppose. I kind of wish, if I had my time again, I might have done printmaking. Because printmaking is a real natural medium for illustrators. And I kind of wish I've done more, and some of the things I've done in illustration, I've emulated printmaking techniques rather than actually use them. So I've really enjoyed the opportunities I've had to do some printmaking, use some printmaking techniques. And I guess I've pushed a lot of students in that direction because the possibilities in printmaking are so rich and diverse. And years ago, an illustrator wouldn't use printmaking because it wasn't seen as something you could reproduce a second time. And now, with high quality scanning and all sorts of availability of different technologies, it means that all sorts of printmaking can be scanned as high res and reproduced for all sorts of things. So it's sort of opened up again, I think, as an opportunity for illustrators to use in a way that probably goes back to the way it was used in the early 20th century through a lot of those interesting presses that were around then. My creative process it's been very philosophical and spiritual. It's probably my creative process grew out of a need to earn money, and hence I went into a commercial kind of arena in illustration, and over the years I've become very skeptical about that, and the thing that's emerged has been an interest in the content and the messages inside the images. And actually that, I've learned, if you allow it to emerge, has much more significance for actually a career and making money and all of that anyway. If you're not coming from that sort of place, if the work isn't emerging from the right place, it's kind of pointless. So my work is now informed by practices, meditation, philosophy, and observation, I guess. Drawing's always been really central to what I do. And yeah, interest, invention, craft, ideas, all sorts of things. I love being in the printmaking workshop. I wish I could be in the printmaking workshop permanently. I think it's to me personally, it's probably the most exciting part of being in an art college environment, university environment, because it has all sorts of possibilities. You know, it has such a rich history, and there are all sorts of possibilities for making images that you kind of know when you're in a print room you're never going to even touch the extent of the possibilities that are there. And so yeah, smell of inks, the craft, the touch, all the tactile stuff that I think everyone's really excited about again now is in contrast to the kind of technology that we all have at our fingertips now. I think what people really want is to kind of smell inks and, you know, play with physical materials and use tactile materials to make things that you can touch and hold in your hands, because we kind of live in this increasingly environment that's like a spiritual desert, and So it's really exciting and fills me full of optimism to see everyone kind of coming back to using tactile materials and wanting to work in a print room environment and seeing what they can do. Okay, in the print room I've used screen printing more than anything, and I love screen printing and the possibilities of screen printing. I'm probably someone who should always have done etching, but I never have used etching because I use a resist technique in my studio using Indian ink, which it so strongly resembles the look of aqua-tinted etchings that people find it hard to tell the difference. So I sort of avoided etching for that reason, which I kind of regret. I've done stone lithography, which I absolutely love, and I'd love to have done more, and some woodcut. So I guess if I was going to do a course in printmaking now, what would I do? Crikey. A bit of everything. Probably stone lithography, although I still think I should learn etching. We just had Sue Coe over, who's sort of legendary in illustration, and she was sending me, she works in print rooms across the United States, and she does stone lithography, and she was sending me pictures of her stone lithographs she was working on, and they're fabulous. And I just remember, John Utting taught me stone lithography in here, and it's sort of the most beautiful surface you can imagine drawing on. It's just gorgeous, and I love that sort of absolute sort of unforgiving quality that it's got. You either just go for it or you don't, or it doesn't happen. And I guess a lot of other processes like etching and screen print appeal to, we can to some degree control what they do. And I think it's part of the printmaking excitement is the fact that it's experimental and it's full of happy accidents, isn't it? We don't set out to intend half the stuff we produce. It just comes out, and we make a set of choices to sort of to go with that. I think that's probably one of the most important things about the print room for me, because I'm interested in ideas of slowing time down, which is what this work's about. Is that the processes in printmaking kind of force you to slow down. That just being in this kind of environment, everything is there are many stages you go through, and it kind of just slows the mind down. So it's a kind of craft meditation, I suppose. And we live in a time where we're so obsessed with doing things quickly and jumping, our minds are jumping so much from one thing to another that I think all the processes that are sort of naturally come with printmaking just have that natural meditative quality of doing things step by step, following a process through to something you've kind of planned, and you kind of, you extemporize at the same time, and you kind of end up with something interesting. You're talking to someone who spends most of his time running a course and running a publishing company. So, but I also I'm in the middle of doing a big commission at the moment, which is a book called The Science of Yoga. So it's all about yoga and meditation, and I've been working on that for 2 years. And the only sketchbook that immediately comes to mind is I'm using a sketchbook to develop the images. So I'm doing something that actually looks a lot like etching and aquatint, but I'm using Indian ink and gum arabic as a resist technique, and I'm drawing the images in a sketchbook because, some of the images I'm drawing in a sketchbook and some I'm drawing on tracing paper. I guess that the thing I've always found most useful for translating images into print has been tracing paper. Somehow, even if the drawings happened in a sketchbook, I translate it onto tracing paper, and then I can bring it into any process I want. So I find tracing paper, which I think is it's not unlike drawing on a lithostone, the kind of grain you get in tracing paper. and that would be the way I translate my sketchbooks. Sketchbooks are weird things. Somebody once said to me that anything you draw in a sketchbook, you should never tear it out even if you hate it, and I've always kind of stuck to that, even though, like all of us, I hate half of what I put in a sketchbook. But I think that's true. I think it's good to not be precious about it. I've just been reading about this morning, actually, Buddhist ideas on art, and the one thing that messes us all up is this kind of Western idea that probably came from ancient Greece, that things should be beautiful. And actually what we all need to learn, this article was saying, is that if we can learn that actually all things are beautiful, and that differentiation between beauty and ugliness is just happening in here, then we're free, and then you're free to work in sketchbooks, and you're not inhibited by anything that's coming out, because you don't have this sort of guy inside your mind telling you it has to be beautiful and it has to be impressive, because that's actually, the Buddhists would just say that's a state of ignorance.